think of that strategic silence? Is it really required at this point in time? Because that's clearly not helping Venezuela at this point in time. It will need more help and assurances from its long-time partners, China and Russia.
China and Russia try to exploit this situation, of course, but at the same time, what they can do is very limited because geographically this is far from them. And at the same time, we should not forget one important thing. View from the size of the U.S. military forces deployed around Venezuela, the purpose of this military operation is not occupying Venezuela. So very limited size of the military forces is staying just side of Venezuela. So in case of the Air Force, they can bomb Venezuela from the mainland of the United States directly. But in case of the other military forces, indeed very limited size they deployed. One aircraft carrier is not enough size to occupy Venezuela. So that's why main military purpose of the purpose of this military operation is still limited. That is things we should not forget. If the United States try to occupy Venezuela, they need more bigger military forces, and such kind of the size of the military forces hasn't deployed around Venezuela. So there's a possibility that still this military operation could be the very limited level, even if the view from the firepower, some destruction will happen.
What do you have to say about the timing of these strikes? Do you think they are rather strategic, because the opposition leader has also been moved out of the country, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, and Maduro is there all by himself. Trump had the opposition leader move out as well, and now these strikes have come right after the new year. Why now? Why now has Trump struck the nation?
Can I? Or who replied this?
Dr. Nagao, wanted to ask you about the timing that Trump had chosen for the strikes.
Okay. In this case, yes, there is a possibility that she will return to Venezuela along with the Marine of the United States. That could happen if she wish, and if President Trump wish. So that's why, of course, Venezuela's regime change is one of the options. But at the same time, the United States clearly mentioned the U.S. Purpose of the U.S. military operation is not the regime change, because if the United States claims the regime change is the purpose, in this case, U.S. need to take care of Venezuela after the regime change. So that's why regime change itself could happen through the process of the U.S. military operation against the drug cartel. But in this case, someone else should take charge to govern Venezuela after the regime change. In this case, her role is very important. So when her back, what kind of the show the U.S. will show or she will show, this is very important, because this is a very important political performance to persuade many Venezuela to follow her. So that's why what kind of political event the U.S. is preparing, or she is preparing, is indeed a little bit interesting part of this event, I think. And what kind of the show will decide what kind of image they have, and that image will make the situation, which is a good start or bad start. So it will affect her for a long time, I think.
Dr. Chadha, but there are statements that are coming out from Venezuela. It's saying U.S. will not succeed in taking resources. So while, of course, Trump has for now maintained that these are the strikes on alleged drug smuggling vessels and ships, but is that really the case, or is it the rich oil reserves on Venezuela that he wants to take over?
Well, I mean, it's not surprising that we heard that statement coming out of Venezuela because, their natural resources, especially oil reserves, remain one of the most prized, possessions that Venezuela has, and probably something of interest to the United States, apart from their mentioned rhetoric of narcotics terrorism. But anyway, I mean, it is very unlikely again, that US would do a strike purely on that basis because, that has been a very, very old trick in the US book that has long been used and exhausted in the Middle East. It's unlikely that the Trump administration would now think that it'll be able to fool everyone into believing that they're doing a strike for one reason, and, especially something like oil reserves, and then they actually get hold of it. But it's very obviously coming out of Venezuela because, again, the Maduro government does not want to show and would not want to show any signs of weakness to its own public. He's maintained control over that nation for quite some time politically, and he would not want to cede that control or give up that control in the face of few strikes because, as the fellow panelists earlier mentioned, these strikes are indeed very limited. We do not see a full scale invasion or, full scale engagement of US troops in Venezuela
Yeah.
yet. So, what needs to be, however, seen is how the Maduro government would be able to shape politically, especially in political discourse, how they would be able to respond to the US, because in terms of capability they cannot match the United States, but probably in terms of raising awareness or raising alarm in the international community they could. So it remains to be seen whether US was indeed only interested in, doing some airstrikes, signaling to the Maduro government who's in control and who still maintains a regional hegemony, and then back out, or was US plan was to do, further airstrikes to make sure that the Maduro government in some way accepts defeat, completely cripples it down, and then the US is able to install or, bring about that said regime change that it might have wanted to do. That still needs to be seen. But as of now, what we are noticing, or as of now, what is very visible is the fact that US has made its presence felt. There is no statement in itself is a statement that US does not want to explain itself. The fact that US thinks it's doing something very, very legitimate,
Well,
and it
presence
feels that it's
felt
doing
at
that
this
for the
point
wider
in time would be
security.
an understatement, Dr. Chadda. We are seeing full-scale strikes, right, at the military bases and on target are senior government and military officials. There's also some breaking news now coming in. Let's give our viewers. The US Federal Aviation Administration has barred American commercial planes from flying at any altitude over Venezuela, citing safety risks linked to the ongoing military activity. The restriction, effective for 23 hours starting early Saturday, does not specify which military is involved. Meanwhile, Washington has not commented on explosions in Caracas, which Venezuela's government has described as US strikes. All right, I want to go to Dr. Nagao. Dr. Nagao, what do you have to say about the area that has been chosen for the strike, the military bases, and the top brass and many senior government officials are located in the area which has been struck?
View from the Maduro's government's attitude, if the U.S. intervene militarily, even if this is just a strike against the drug cartel, the Venezuela army will resist it by using the missile, or if they have the fighter jet, they have the fighter jet, but old one. So there's a possibility it could be very big threat. And if the U.S. expects such kind of resistance, of course, the United States need to neutralize this kind of the command chain or anti-air missiles or the fighter jet, of course. So that's why this target is military target is neutralized by the bombing. It's understandable. Anyway, the airstrike could happen. View from the military operation, they need to eliminate the threat against the military, which intervenes the Venezuela air. So that's why it is a natural process, common process to neutralize enemy's military capability, resistance capability in this case. So that's why it is understandable. But interesting thing is if the United States intend to neutralize Maduro regime's governing capability because of they wish regime change, in this case a little bit different. Not just bombing the anti-air capability, but also the total command chain of the Venezuelan armed forces could be the target. In this case, the opposition side can move more freely and regime change is more easy to do. So that's why it could happen. In this case, for example, the capability to cracking down the oppositions is the target. So that's why if we know the detail of the target of the U.S. military operation, indeed the political message is indeed rely on this information and sorry. So after we know the detail of the target, we will know what is the real purpose of the U.S. military operation. And the U.S. hasn't said anything yet means that this military operation is still ongoing. So after they reach a certain period of time and achieve some certain level, that time this is the time to say something. U.S. will think and the U.S. will publish it. Before it, U.S. kept silence about this military operation, just continue to bomb or deploy the forces, something like that, because this is just the middle of the military operation.
All right, some more developments coming in, viewers. Venezuela's government has condemned what it said was a very serious, grave military aggression by the US against multiple parts of the country after explosions were reported in the country. Now, in a statement, the government accused the US of carrying out an attack on Caracas and the states of Miranda, Aragua, and La Guaira. So these three states, Miranda, Aragua, and La Guaira, have been attacked in these strikes, of which the US, of course, has not claimed as of now, but Venezuela continues to accuse the United States, beg your pardon, of carrying out these strikes, especially after we have been reporting for over more than a month now how Trump has escalated aggression in the Caribbean and also in the country on land as well. He earlier closed the airspace, and now of course these strikes and explosions that are being reported. But now I want to take a question to Dr. Chadha. Dr. Chadha, what do you make of the states that have been targeted? Speak to about how important they really are for Venezuela and what does it mean for the US to attack them?
Absolutely. I mean, specifically focusing on the January 3 strikes, if we look at them, they were very concentrated on this one airbase and on this one military complex. So it appeared as if, it would be very, very concentrated attack, with the fact that 3 more cities are reporting similar attacks, though we don't know if they are all related or if they are all being conducted by US, because there is no statement. But if they are part of a wider plan, I mean, looks like US is in some way aiming at those cities because they hold a lot of strategic, economic or military capabilities for Venezuela. And as is very, very obvious, usually when a larger state or a regional hegemon, when it tries to attack a smaller one, first thing it would want to completely wipe out would be military capabilities and infrastructure, critical infrastructure, and we are seeing both in this case. So not only are these important cities in terms of economics, but also the fact that they house air bases. One of them has a military complex. The fact that there was immediate power outage in the area does show that this is a very, very well thought out, calibrated attack by the US, or calibrated operation by the US. But again, we wouldn't hear much unless we do know about the entire scale and the entire set of objectives that the US has, when striking Venezuela. But clearly, what if we look at it slightly from, in the past, US strategy towards Venezuela has clearly moved, from being earlier purely maritime, blocking out ships in or attacking those ships, to now going to the mainland and then conducting these strikes. So clearly US is in into this attack on all three fronts: maritime, airspace, as well as now on ground operations. If we get to hear about it, that would be definitely an escalation in the conflict.
Okay. In fact, some more statements coming in. Viewers, let's tell you, developments are also coming in from Cuba. We're reporting how international leaders are now joining in condemnation of the strikes by allegedly by the US. Cuba's President Miguel Diaz-Canel has condemned what he called a criminal attack by the US on Venezuela. In a social media post, Diaz-Canel urged the international community to respond urgently, describing the strikes as state terrorism against the Venezuelan people and the wider nation. He said Cuba stands firmly with Venezuela amid the escalating crisis. So Colombia and Cuba have both issued statements to condemn the strikes that they are saying are by the US, and in fact also calling for the United Nations to meet immediately. I want to take that to Dr. Nagao, who's with me in the discussion here. Dr. Nagao, do you see the UN meeting on Venezuela?
Of course they hold, but recently United Nations influence is nearly nothing. So that's why they can talk, but there is no legal something will import to the United States, I think.
Okay.
And in this case, the US think this is a national security issue, so that's why US will not back down, I believe. And but recent military operation in the Miranda State, Aragua State, maybe this is a coastal line, relatively close to the capital, but at the same time, this is a close line of the coast. So that's why currently U.S. military operation focusing on just a command chain to penetrate the military forces inside of the Venezuela. But at the same time, this is not a full-scale invasion. We should remember it. If the United Nations people talk, this is talk about strike, but not full-scale invasion against Venezuela. That is a very important point, I think. Because many airstrikes has happened in the world, and this is one of these the US can say.
All right, thanks Dr. Nagao, but do continue to stay on with me. I'm also joined in by Colonel Sirohi in the discussion here. Colonel Sirohi, we're now seeing strikes on your screens. I don't know if you're sitting in front of a television right now, but those strikes are speaking for themselves, loud explosions. What's your assessment of the situation?
We have been seeing this. This was a preparation going on for quite some time.
Yeah.
In fact, for last 1 or 2 months, the Americans have been planning to strike this thing Venezuela, and because of that, they had concentrated their forces, and they have the largest air carrier in the area. So the intention was very clear from the day one, and now Donald Trump has decided to invade Venezuela. And I think the pretext what he is giving is not a right thing. The international law, the international rule is not being followed. So whosoever has got the might, he has got the right to attack. That is what Donald Trump is now saying very categorically. He attacked Nigeria on the pretext that the Christians are being butchered there. He boycotted South Africa in G20 because he thought that Christians were not being treated properly. The white people were not taking this. So what I am trying to bring out is that the pretext or the reasons for doing all this are not as per the international law. And Venezuela is an independent country, sovereign country. No other country has got right to attack it. Initially, the attacks were on the boats on the pretext that they were carrying their drugs. Now the attack is on the military installation, attack was on the infrastructure, attack is on the refinery. So I think it is all out invasion. I don't agree that these are only strikes. Nowadays, any ground invasion does not take place so easily. So it is the Air Force or the air weapons which are normally used, and Americans are using it. So I think it is totally this thing very, very serious matter, and I am very glad that there are world leaders like leaders from Cuba and from other countries who are saying that this should be condemned by everyone, and I think all the world leaders should condemn it, because you cannot attack on the whims and fancies of a president of America. Kriti.
All right, and what do you make of the timing of these strikes at this point in time? Because, like you said, Trump had been planning for a long time, but why now?
Look, I am telling you this. Why now is this? We will come to know slightly later on. But let me tell you, the things are going in direction where there will be a lot of problems for most of the countries. Right? China is carrying out exercises around Taiwan. So you tell me one thing, that if tomorrow China decides to invade Taiwan, who's going to stop them? Because they can always say that if Americans could attack or strike Venezuela, then they have got the full right, because they believe in one nation theory. So the timings, what we see is that on Christmas Day he attacked Nigeria, starting of New Year he is attacking Venezuela, and on the other hand he is talking about the Nobel Peace Prize. He is saying that I have this thing carried out peace in number of countries. I have solved the problem, I resolved the problem. He is the one who is creating problems for everyone. He is bombing Syria, he is bombing Nigeria, now he is bombing Venezuela, he bombed Iran. So I think what Donald Trump is saying, it is creating a lot of problems, and it will create a lot of problems for the rest of the world also. Kriti.
All right, let me take some reactions that are coming in now at this point in time. Statements have already been coming from Cuba and Colombia, who have condemned these strikes and also called the US activities as criminal. They've also called for the United Nations to meet immediately. We don't know if any kind of pressure is really going to help prevent any escalation in this regard, even if the UN meets. Do you think Colonel Sirohi is going to stop Trump from his aggression?
No, nothing is going to stop Trump from his aggression. Whatever he has decided, he is one man, he is a great bully. If he has decided to do it, he will do it. And the main aim of him is to remove Maduro from there as a president. Once he achieves that, then I think he will stop. Otherwise, till it is confirmed that Mr. Maduro has left the country or he has been killed, till then he is not going to stop.
Yeah.
That is his main aim. Kriti.
Okay. So, are you saying that that's going to be the likely course? Is Maduro actually going to flee Venezuela? Or he's going to take this side out?
Chances are that he may flee, because now the options are available. There are no options available to him, because either he dies for his country or he flees from there. What I have seen that in Syria also, their president, he fled to Russia. So maybe he got his own plan. So unless the president of Venezuela is removed or he is killed, Donald Trump is not going to stop. That is what is guaranteed.
All right. I also have with me in the discussion here Lieutenant Colonel Himanshi Kolia. Himanshi Singh, Lieutenant Colonel Himanshi Singh, beg your pardon, viewers, joins me in this discussion. Lieutenant Colonel, do you think Maduro is actually going to flee in the face of these strikes?
Kriti, whatever we are seeing, whether it's Maduro, whatever, the fallouts will be much more, as Colonel Sirohi was also telling, that now things are going to escalate in Venezuela, because it is not just that Caracas is burning, it is the international unanswered questions, the way Trump has been pushing the world and Venezuela especially, that it is a threat of drug cartels, but it is much more than that. It is about oil. And we know wherever there is oil, the US barges in, whether it is Iran, whether it is any other country. So it is a blatant threat to any sovereign nation. That might is right is being exercised by President Donald Trump, which is a clear-cut, I'll say, a blatant disrespect to any country's sovereignty, as any such action should be taken under UN Charter when the country is disrespecting the UN laws, and not just US is threatening the other countries. So I feel in the entire world scenario, this particular incident should not get unnoticed. And I feel it is a disrespect to the people of Venezuela. The way these strikes have been formed, these are very serious in nature. And these are very serious in nature, as general staff of Venezuela has been attacked. And with the visuals which I have seen on X, Twitter, we've seen the Apache helicopters flying low and shooting down. So I think we must all raise concern whether once it is proven that it is US which has done the attacks, because no formal statements have come from both the countries. Over to you, Kriti.
All right, sure. And do you think UN pressure is going to help at all? Can UN even do anything in this situation? Do you think it's powerful enough to, stop Trump? Because Trump has not respected anything that any international organization has been seeing up until now. Will the UN pressure help it from, stopping these strikes?
No, UN pressure will not help. That's a laughable question. We have seen so many wars. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that see, UN was in force after Second World War, but thereafter it has become dysfunctional. We've seen so many attacks happening across the globe. We have been tracking so many wars and small skirmishes, but the day Israel decides, it attacks any other country. The day US decides, they attack any country, and there are no sanctions, no ban. Anyone who's facing sanctions and ban are the people who are not strong enough to represent themselves in UN. So basically, now that is why so many global like in South, you see so many countries gaming up together and making SEOs and all. So small countries are coming up together. You have BRICS, you have Quad, you have SEOs. So everybody is aligning as per their requirement. So UN has basically become dysfunctional. However, till the time that body is there, because we had seen there are agencies like CIPRI and IEA, which controls the atomic energies and all. So such countries are, such agencies are still needed, so that if things escalate and if there's something like nuclear comes up, so we need one institution like this. However, in controlling US, UN is a total failure, and we cannot expect anything out of UN.
All right. All right, Lieutenant Colonel Singh, for your assessment. Thanks for that. But do continue to stay on with me. Let's give our viewers some more breaking news updates that are coming in. Cuba's President Miguel Diaz-Canel has condemned, and he's called these strikes a criminal act by the United States. He's gone on to social media and he's urged the international community to respond urgently. And he's called these strikes as state terrorism against Venezuela and its people. In fact, now 2 US officials have reportedly told the media that President Trump ordered strikes on sites inside Venezuela, including military facilities. So 2 US officials have now reportedly confirmed the strikes have been carried out by Donald Trump. They have reportedly told some media outlets that Trump indeed ordered the strikes on sites inside Venezuela, including the military facilities. All right, so first such confirmation now coming in, although this is as per reports. We are expecting a more detailed and a more calibrated response from the US in some time from now, even if not immediately. No statement has come from the US, official statement has come as of now, but of course Venezuela has issued a statement, and Nicolas Maduro has accused Donald Trump of conducting these strikes. I in fact want to read out that statement that has come from Nicolas Maduro. He has accused US of carrying out military attacks against Venezuela. This is according to Venezuela's communication ministry. Venezuela rejects, repudiates and denounces US military aggression in the capital of Caracas and the states of Miranda, Aragua and La Guera. These are the 3 states that are under attack, and this statement from Venezuela is coming from its communications ministry. All right, I am now joined by Collins Chong Yuki, who is a foreign affairs, security and strategy analyst, and he joins us from Kuala Lumpur. Collins, what do you make of the situation? All right, before I take that question to Collins, I'm joined by Mr. Glenn Grant in the discussion here. Mr. Glenn Grant, how do you see these strikes that are being carried out by allegedly by the US? Because of course no official statement has come out from the US, but it's anybody's guess who could have ordered these strikes.
Well, I don't think it's anybody's guess. I think it's a well-known fact that it came from US because nobody else has the capacity to do this. So US it is, US it was, and clearly this is Donald Trump's game. I just find it staggering that, you know, the time that we've actually got a major war on in Europe that he needs to pay attention to. The president of the president who declares himself the president of peace has actually, you know, bombed Iran, bombed Nigeria, and is now bombing Venezuela. The most ridiculous thing about it is the waste, because he's not going to get the results that he wants from this. This isn't how you're going to deal with drugs, and anyway, the drugs that he talks about are not coming out of Venezuela anyway.
Mr. Grant, do you really think it's just about the drugs at this point in time? Is drugs really the point of contention?
It's not. It's about oil, and it's about land, and it's about Trump trying to distract everybody away from the problems he's got at home with the Epstein files. It's nothing else.
Okay. All right, and what do you make of the timing of these